Okay, now can you do this with your fingers? Okay, great. Now can you close your wrists? Go like that. Spin the other way. Okay, great. All right, now grab onto my fingers and pull, squeeze. I did say pull. Yes, I'm gonna fart next. You need a wilderness first aid course. But why? Why do you need one? Well, recently, in connection with my kayak club, I took a 1-day wilderness first aid course, which was much too short. So let's talk all about that. Why do you need one, and why should it be longer than what I did? And then afterwards, I've picked up a few tips on things you can put in a first aid kit that you're going to take out to the wilderness with you, because that's going to be a little bit different from a first aid kit that you might put in your car. So the course, as I said, was 1 day long, and it was split into functionally 3 parts. The first part was a CPR course, where we learned chest per chest, chest compressions to stay alive, amongst other songs, as well as, doing the airway breathing, checking for about how to check for their life signs and stuff like that. Not pulse, interestingly, and there's a good reason why, because you might feel your own pulse instead. That simple. We learned how to use defibrillators and how to find them. And then the second half of the day was learning what you saw at the very beginning of this clip, which was how to do a medical assessment of an injured person in a situation where you might be hours or days away from getting them to proper help, because emergency services can't necessarily get to where you're going when you're paddling out to some island on a kayak or going on a multi-day trip into some kind of provincial or national park somewhere. And then the third part of the day was a little bit of talk about, in the last hour or so, was a little bit of talk about what things to put in a first aid kit. So this all sounds really good, but why was it too short? Do you have any allergies that you have? Any like seasonal allergies or nuts or anything else? No pets or anything? No. Okay, and do you have any medical alert tags that we asked you about a while ago? I'm retconning us here. Do you have any medical alert tags for like any regular conditions? No. Okay. All right. Well, you saw in that assessment, you saw us trying to figure out what was going on, what we're trying to do. But we were forgetting things, constantly reminding each other, oh wait, we got to do this, we got to do this. That is a skill, being able to do that assessment. And like any skill, say a language, you're multilingual. If you don't use that skill, you don't use that language, don't use whatever it is, you will forget. You will lose that skill over time. And so you have to be able to keep that skill up and keep practicing it. And so you need a lot more than just 1 day to learn it. Like we didn't even fully learn it in a single day. And now we're supposed to keep it up over the course of the next year or 2 years or so on. So that's why it's too short. Fortunately, there are options. The first, what I'm going to discuss here is specifically a company called Knowles, who do outdoor education and wilderness medicine and guided expeditions and stuff like that. There are other courses and programs out there. I'm not personally familiar with them. I'm familiar with Knowles. That's why I'm going to talk about this one. But you're not limited to that one. And if you have other outdoor education or wilderness medicine programs that you're aware of, let me know in the comments, because I'm always looking to know more about what's available out there. Knowles has 3 main wilderness medicine courses for the vast majority of people. The first one, WFA, or Wilderness First Aid, is a 3-day course. The course I did was essentially an introduction to that 3-day course. It was based off of that course, but in a more compact package, just enough to get me to know that I really should take this other course. That course is enough for the most people. That course is probably what most of you need. It's 3 days. It's for anybody who's going to be within a few hours, not more than 8 hours, of getting a person to a hospital. And so you might be away from civilization, but you're not wildly far removed. Take it, but don't just take it once. Take it every few years. Keep refreshing your skills, come back to it, and do it again. So, because, like I said, you don't want that skill to atrophy, because you get out in the wilderness, think, oh, I took this course 10 years ago, I'll be fine. And then something finally happens and you realize that you're not fine. This next level course is the Wilderness Advanced First Aid, or WAFA. And that one's for people who are going to go for weekend trips or week-long trips or longer distances or expeditioning. That one is for people who are going to be out for a longer period of time and need to have a somewhat larger skill set. to be able to deal with more extreme situations. And then the final one, Wilderness First Responder, which is a 10-day course. The advanced one is 5 days. This one's 10 days, is for people who are going to be guiding in the wilderness, who are going to be taking other people out on expeditions and stuff like that, for people who work in the outdoor industry. So which level should you take? Well, it should be pretty self-evident. I've already explained that. Personally, I will probably take the first 2 steps at the very least, the Wilderness First Aid, and then maybe a year or 2 down, the Advanced Wilderness First Aid, and then finally, if I want to, I might even go for the Wilderness First Responder, just for something different. Wilderness First Responder does have a refresher course that you have to take every, I think, 2 years, something like that, in order to maintain your certification for Wilderness First Responders. So you are required to keep retaking courses in order to maintain your level. But at the very least, if you take the Advanced First Aid, you should every so often go back and take the basic WFA course again from time to time. Because remember, I cannot stress this enough. I know I've said it multiple times already, but it's a skill that will atrophy if you don't use it. And ideally, you'll never use it, which means you need to practice it. Finally, let's talk about these first aid kits and what the heck we should put in them. So I've got four tips today. I am not an expert on this. As I said, this has come from the instructor that I learned from. I will actually link to their company in the comments in case anyone in Sweden wants to go to them. They were fantastic. But if you do want just some YouTube videos that talk about what to do in a complete first aid kit, visit Adventure Otaku. I'll mention him down below, or link to him down below as well. He's got some great videos, and he is a wilderness medicine instructor, and he's got some great videos of what he does with his first aid kits, and he has different first aid kits for different situations. So for a more thorough list of what to put in your first aid kit, definitely check him out. I bought this just recently. It's just a little starting point so I could build it there. It sucks. Like, here is my little plastic tweezers, and they get very bent out of shape when you try and squeeze them, so I'm gonna have to replace those. Some little scissors with it that probably aren't really any better. Probably have to replace those as well. But it was a starting point to get an idea of what I need when I can put it in there. It's not some bandages, things in there, but some suggestions, 4 suggestions of things you definitely can put in there that may or may not be replacing things that are already in there. Number 1, some kind of elastic, stretchy pad thing, just to kind of, for bandaging wounds and stuff. Something that can replace this cheap gauze that came with that first aid kit. Alright, I'm going to interrupt myself real quick here. And this is why you should never trust videos on the internet, such as myself, and actually get a professional to teach you these stuff. Because this is an ace wrap, and this is gauze. While they have overlapping uses, they are not the same thing. And I was confusing them as the same thing in the main video. So not to say you can't have this, but this one is so much better. It's got compression ability and, much bigger. It'll do a lot more. Number 2, gloves. And not these crappy gloves that are going to be like super loose and make it impossible to do anything with your hands. Get some good quality nitrile gloves like this. The ones that, when you put them on, they're, relatively taut. And they'll make it very effective for you to work. That way you don't infect the person's wound while you're dealing with them. Okay, I'm going to interrupt myself one more time. This glove, and yes, it's the same one, despite this being several days later, is not sterile. And these gloves are not sterile. You're not going to prevent an infection on the other person by wearing these gloves. But they are still good to wear, because they will still protect you. And if they have vomit or blood or something like that. So, still a good idea, but not sterile, so they won't prevent infection. But they also, say they vomit or something, you're not getting their germs on you at the same time. So it's a really good way to protect both you and the person you're working with. Just make sure that you bring spares, because these things, they fall apart, they break really easily, and kind of useless if they break, so make sure you have spares, because there's a good chance you will need them. Number 3 is a triangle bandage. I don't have one of these, I can't show you this one, but a triangle bandage. These bandages, basically it's a big white piece of cloth. It actually might be a square that you fold in half to make it into a triangle, but the purpose of this is it can be used for a variety of things. You can use it to pack a wound or wrap a wound. You can use it as a sling. You can use it, say around someone's head to put and keep it cool, damp water on there if you're trying to keep a fever down and stuff like that. It has a lot of different uses, so And this is really the name of the game when it comes to wilderness first aid, is get things that have a lot of variety, a lot of utility that you can use in multiple situations, because the more flexible you are with the things in your kit, the more situations you'll be able to deal with while being able to bring less stuff. And the fourth thing, keep all the common medications with you. Keep some ibuprofen with you, some paracetamol with you, and all the other little, some allergy medications, things like that. All the common ones that you can buy off the shelf and have a range of, because that way you have different options for different people depending on what the situation is. And if you found that useful and want to have some ideas from other things that you can use in kayaking situations that aren't necessarily related to first aid, check out this video right here where I listed 6 different small items that work great for kayakers. Happy paddling!